Welcome to the third class. Over the last two classes, we discussed the idea of Golus and the transition from Golus into Geula, and how important it is for us to be waiting for the coming of Mashiach. Today we're going to discuss the timing of when Mashiach is going to come. There's a Gemara in Sanhedrin based on a pasuk in Yeshaya where the Gemara learns that there's two options in how Mashiach is going to come. Mashiach can either come in a time of Be'ita or in a time of Achishena. Meaning, if the Yidden are going to be Zeiche and they're going to be doing Torah and Mitzvahs properly and they're going to complete their Avodah and Golus at an earlier time than expected, so then Mashiach is going to come in a way of Achishena. In other words, going to come quickly, earlier than the original time that the Eibishter had designated for Mashiach to come. However, if the Yidden are going to be Loi Zachu, they're not going to complete their Avodah and Galus, so then Mashiach is going to come at a time of Be'ita, which means at the designated time that the Eibishter Melchatchila decided that this is the time Mashiach is going to come, regardless of the Yidden's Avodah. The same way there is a difference in time of Be'ita or Achishena, there's also a difference in the process of Be'ita and Achishena, which means that if the Yidden are going to be Loi Zachu, so then the Geula is going to come in a slow, step-by-step process with a whole sequence of events that needs to happen before the ultimate Geula comes, and that will be called the process of Be'ita. However, if the Yidden are going to be in a matzav of Zachu, which means they're going to do the Avodah properly, so then the entire Geula can happen in a very quick process, skipping many details, skipping many events that's supposed to happen, and we'll go straight to the ultimate Geula without the whole system of events that need to happen before the Geula. An example for this is Bias Eliyahu. It's brought down in the Rambam, brought down in many other Gemaras and Sfarim, that before Mashiach comes, Bias Eliyahu has to happen in order to be Mevasa the Geula before Mashiach comes. However, this is only in a process of Be'ita. If we're going to be Zeicha and the Geula is going to come in a process of Achishena, then there's going to be no need for Eliyahu Navi to come before Mashiach. Mashiach can come even if Eliyahu Navi did not come yet. One of the examples of the difference between a process of Be'ita or a process of Achishena is the idea if Mashiach is going to come as an ani reichev ala chameir, as a poor person riding a donkey, which means showing that it's a process that's slow, or Mashiach can come in a way of Orim and Nanishmaya, flying on clouds, which shows on a very quick process. Therefore, because the process is based on the idea of Zachu or Loi Zachu, one of the foundations of our Amun and Mashiach is also the fact that our Avodah can bring Mashiach come faster. In other words, what you do or what I do, what every single one of us does in our Torah mitzvahs, we have the ability to make Mashiach come faster. Especially now, in our time, when it's already after what the Gemara had said, Kol Kol HaKitzim, and we've already done so much Avodah throughout all the generations until now, it's even more that we can understand and realize that every single mitzvah that we do is going to make the Geula happen. In Chazal, there are many mitzvahs that are pointed out as having a special Geula to bring the Geula, to make Mashiach come faster. Some of those mitzvahs are the mitzvah of tzedakah. As we know, the Ma'amar Chazal, Gdilas Tzedakah Shem Kereves HaGeula. There's also the mitzvah of tshuva, as the Rambam brings down that when the Yidden do tshuva, miyadei negalin. There is, as we mentioned yesterday's shir, the tzipiyah legeula, waiting for Mashiach to come, is in itself something that has a special zgula to make Mashiach come faster. There's also the bakasha, asking for Mashiach to come. There's also the mitzvah of Avas Yisrael, the mitzvah of limud HaTorah bechlal, especially Pnimius HaTorah. There's something special in the limud HaMishnayos that has a zgula to bring Mashiach. And then there is something which in the most recent years, the Rebbe has introduced, the idea of learning in Yanei Gula Mashiach, which is what we're doing right now. That through learning in Yanei Gula Mashiach, it's actually the quickest and easiest and direct way to make the Hisgalus of Melech HaMashiach happen. And there's many more. mitzvahs that have a special Geula to bring Mashiach. It's also important to point out that in addition to these mitzvahs, the Rebbe says that in our generation, because we're holding already by the threshold of Geula, it's important that every single mitzvah should be done with this one intention of bringing Mashiach. And not only should it be with the intention, the entire focus of the mitzvah, the entire reason of why we're doing mitzvah, the entire motivation behind the mitzvah, all the kach of the mitzvah has to be with the purpose of Kabbalah Shnei Mashiach Tzedkeinu. As the Rebbe says in the Sikha, that the idea of Mashiach needs to be the shar, the gateway through which every single mitzvah that we do goes through. However, a person can think, how is it that my one deed, my one mitzvah, is able to make Geula come? I'm one small person doing one small mitzvah. How is that making Mashiach come? So to answer this, there's a Rambam. And I think this is probably one of the most quoted Rambams by the Rebbe. It's a Rambam where the Rambam says that a person has to always look at himself in the entire world as if it's an equal scale. You have two sides of the scale that are equal. You have the good side and the bad side. And you have to look at yourself as if you are right now holding at an equal scale, and this one mitzvah that you're going to do is going to tip the entire scale to the good and is going to make the Geula happen. And with this in mind, can make a person in an easy way understand that his one specific mitzvah, as small as it may be, can make the entire scale tip over to the good and bring the Geula, take it from the yad. This is especially relevant to our generation when we've already completed all of our avodah. As the Rebbe says that in Der Shvi, all of the avodah that's needed to bring the Geula has already been completed. And all that's left for us is one small pe'ula that will actually tip the scale to make the Geula happen right away. Now, although we know that every single mitzvah can make the Geula happen, yet, if a person thinks to himself and makes a cheshbon and says, if our generation is given the job of bringing the Geula, and previous generations had the same job of bringing the Geula, but they somehow did not succeed, how are we going to succeed? Previous generations had giants. There was Tanoim, Amidoyim, Goinim, Rishonim, Achreinim. There were generation of the Baal Shem Tov and his Talmidim, the Alter Rebbe and his Chassidim, and so to all the other future the following generations of Chassidim. They were not able to accomplish the Geula. How are you in such a low generation, which the lowest generation that we are in now is called Iksa de Mashiach, the heels, in other words, the lowest part of Klal Yisrael, that we are given the job to bring Mashiach. They were not able to do it. How are we going to be able to do it? So for this, to explain this, we're going to give 4 biurim. 3 of them are very similar, just different points to a very similar beer. And the 4th one is a completely separate type of beer. The first beer is a more famous beer, is the mashal given of a nanas and an anak, a midget on the shoulders of a giant. The giant is very tall, and he can see very far. However, if you take the midget and put him on top of the shoulders of the giant, the midget's eyes are a little bit higher than the giant, but because of that, the midget can see much further than the giant. Same idea is also us. Our avodah is not our own avodah. It's our avodah based on all the avodah of the previous generations. And therefore, although we're very small, and there's very little that we're doing, but that little bit is able to accomplish so much more because we are on all the avodah of the previous generations. A second beer is that throughout the generations, there were good things that were done, and unfortunately not such good things that were done. The not good things that were done get taken care of by each individual based on what they did. However, the good that every single year throughout the previous generations did all gets added up. And as it adds up, from one generation to the next, there's a lot of good that has been done until now to bring the Geula. And therefore, when we're doing more good, we're adding onto the good that has already almost reached the finish line. And therefore, because there's so little bit left to the finish line, the more we add, we'll get there and we'll have the Geula. A third beer, which again is similar to the same concept, is that there's a lot of work that the Eibishter needs for us to do in Galus to bring the Geula. And there's a lot of very big jobs, then there's a small little jobs that are left. So the big jobs were already done in previous generations by the giants. The Tanoim, the Amirayim, the Chassidim, the Tzadikim, the big Talmid Chacham in previous generations, they did the very big jobs. However, the very few small, simple things, Lefierech, that were left, that is given to us. And therefore, although we may be small Lefierech, previous generations, but the work that's needed now is not a lot. There's only a very little bit of work left, and simple work, Lefierech. And therefore, even though we are small, we can accomplish this work. That's the third beer. Then comes along a fourth beer. And this fourth beer actually says that we have a tremendous milah greater than all previous generations. And this milah is so great to the extent that Moshe Rabbeinu, when he saw all future generations until our last generation in Golus, Moshe Rabbeinu became humbled by us because of the greatness that we have. What is that? That is the nisayon that we have of Al Yevesh Mepnei Amaligim. Every generation had different nisyonos. And every generation had different things that they had to accomplish, different Mesidus Nefesh that they need to go through. However, our generation has a unique nisayon that previous generations did not have as hard as us. And that is the idea of Al Yevesh Mepnei Amaligim, not being embarrassed by doing the right thing. Even if others make fun and others try to disturb and bother and discourage, we are not going to be embarrassed about doing the right thing, even though it's very difficult. And mitzad this nisayon that we have, and we are Baruch Hashem succeeding, we're being matzliach in this nisayon. Previous generations may not have been matzliach in this nisayon. And Achman Islam, they could have been nichshel. But us, we are being matzliach. And mitzad this, we are greater than previous generations. And because of this milah we have, we can accomplish the Geula in a certain sense more than previous generations were able to have. And this is why when a person looks at himself and thinks, I have a mission to bring the Geula, he has to tell himself, yes, I could bring the Geula. I do have the capability of bringing the Geula. And I can make the Geula happen now.